made the exact same point I made. So thank you, Coach.
Great having you on, Coach.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you, and I think the Eagles are right where they need to be and rolling towards the playoffs. But when you look at the last games, it's inevitable. Things are going to happen. Baltimore Ravens lose Zay Flowers, but they had to. They're trying to get to the 3 seed, and you lose a dynamic weapon. That's football. But the point that I made is once you get things wrapped up, this Week 18 for the Eagles was a preseason game. Okay, so if Saquon gets hurt and misses the playoffs for a preseason game, everybody's going to be upset. Now, yes, he would have set a record and all that, but that's not what they're there for. You're there to win a championship. I had the same situation in 2004. Peyton Manning, next to last game of the year, he throws his 49th touchdown pass. No one had ever thrown 50 touchdown passes. Everybody's telling me, you got to leave him in. You got to let him go for 50. This would be historic. If I put him in there and he gets hurt, or my left tackle gets hurt trying to protect him, or Marvin Harrison gets hurt, how can I explain that to the owner? How can I explain that to the team? So you have to get your team ready for the playoffs and do what you think is best to get them ready.
I know what kind of eyeballs you put on the teams that you talk about on the air, Coach. When you put your eyeballs on the Eagles, tell Eagles fans why they should be confident going into this postseason.
Well, I see them playing like a couple of years ago. Big, bad front, where you're dominant with the offensive line. You've got some defensive line people that nobody can handle. And you've got these receivers that if you have to load up to stop Saquon and Jalen, they can beat one-on-one. And they've got the formula, and they're executing it right now, and they're fairly healthy. So I like where they are. I think they're just really ready to roll, and I don't think anybody's going to stop them until they get to Detroit. I think we can look for Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC Championship game.
You obviously mentioned that Peyton Manning was one of your quarterbacks when you were a coach in the NFL. That was also one of the big boom eras of the pass-happy offenses.
Yeah.
How do you feel that a team like the Eagles, and let's also look at some more, and how about the opponent the Eagles are playing in Green Bay, have been run-first teams primarily this year, and they've had some of the most success. Can you talk on that?
Yeah, and you have to do what's best for your team. And you can't say, well, everybody is throwing the ball, so we're going to throw. No, if I've got this big offensive line and dominant people, and I've got one of the best backs in football, and I've got a quarterback that can run, that's Philadelphia, that's Baltimore. And they're doing what they do best. And, forget what everybody else is doing. Forget what the experts say, this is how you win. You play to your strengths. I think Coach Sirianni is doing that. I think Coach Harbaugh is doing that. And Matt LaFleur has done that in Green Bay. When they got Josh Jacobs, they turned into a bully, run-the-ball team, and then complement that with the passing game, and it's been effective.
Coach, how much does home field advantage really matter? As a guy who had to come into Philly a few times in the postseason, what's it really like walking in there, or any one of these really tough, home field advantages?
The energy and emotion carries the home team. We saw that Sunday night in Detroit. It was just electric from the time the warm-up started. The other thing is the noise factor. If you have to go on a silent snap count because you can't hear, that's a great advantage for the defense. And if you've got defensive linemen that can get off on the ball, they just watch the center and they time up that snap, that's a huge advantage. You can't change the plays as often or as efficient as you would like because everybody can't hear. So it is definitely an advantage to be playing at home, besides the rest factor. You don't have to travel.
What are you most impressed by with this Eagles defense this year, a defense that's towards the top in a lot of categories when they were toward the bottom in pretty much all of them last year?
Well, I think they have really adjusted to Coach Fangio's system. We talked to the guys. We were down in Brazil, and everybody was excited, all the defenders. Oh, the system is great. But they had to learn it, and they had to learn to they made some mistakes early on. But by mid-season, you saw those mistakes get less and less, and now they're playing fast. When we got them in the middle of the year, it was a completely different defense. So I think they're just playing fast, and with their rules, that worrying about what they're supposed to do, they know it, and that's why they're able to execute.
Coach, if Matt LaFleur called you today, and you're free, and if he does, give me all the information if you can. If he called you today What kind of advice would you give him on trying to attack the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, number one, you've got to keep that defensive front all down. So you've got to run Josh Jacobs early and try to hit some play-action passes where you can get one-on-one. Make them defend the run, make them defend Jacobs, and then hit some big plays. On the other side, you've got to keep Saquon contained and Jalen Hurts. And that's easier said than done. You got to commit a lot of people to that. Take your time with AJ and Devontae and hope that they have an off day throwing. That's what I would recommend.
Coach Dungy, what's your opinion on Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think Coach Sirianni, his players love him, and they play for him. They like it. He's a little quirky, and he's not your average coach, but you're not please the fans. You're not trying to please the broadcasters. You're trying to get your players to be the best that they can be and have them rally around you. And from the times that I've been around the Eagles camp, that's exactly what's happening. So I think he's done a really, really good job.
Coach, you're from Michigan, right, originally?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you understand, like, what's going on right now in Detroit and the idea that they're 2 wins away from a Super Bowl and they're going to be at home. Is Detroit the biggest sort of boogeyman out there potentially to keep us from getting to Bourbon Street?
Yes. I looked at them and I thought, what had happened in November and December. They're playing excellent offense. They're explosive. They're running the ball. They're hitting these big plays. But their defense had so many injuries. They played a home game. They gave up 40 points to Buffalo. And they struggled over the 30s on defense in some other games. And I thought, well, that's their Achilles heel. But they came out and they stopped a very good Minnesota offense, and I was really impressed. So now when you look at that and the energy and everything, I grew up in the Detroit area. I'm almost 70 years old. I was 2 when they won their last championship. So we've been through a lot of tough times and a lot of pain, and they want to do it for these fans. So you've got a good team that is motivated by the city and by the fans, and they're going to be tough.
How much would you have liked to have had a guy like Jalen Carter playing on your defensive line?
Oh, you would have used him.
Coach Sirianni talked to me a couple times, and he's compared Jalen to Warren Sapp. And he said he's got this talent, this unbelievable talent, and if we can harness that and get him playing like he can play every week, nobody's going to stop him. Nobody's going to block him. And that's what they've done. And he set the tone for that defense. And when you have a disruptive force in the middle like that everybody has to account for, it's kind of like an Aaron Donald or John Randall, who I had in Minnesota, and Sapp, where you know how people are going to block because they've got to double team him, and that means everybody else is getting singled. Now you take advantage of that with your other guys, with your blitz schemes, and it's huge.
Andrew, back in Atlanta, Buck Ballou and I doing our show for forever, Tony Dungy would come on with us and everything, and when we both became fathers, his all-pro dad thing is a great pursuit to be able to help guys be able to understand the role of a father and what a father needs to do. Andrew has a young son, Coach. What's the most important thing you would tell Andrew with his young son, Cooper, to be, about at 2 years old? Like, what's the most important thing he needs to be worried about?
I would say to be available for your son and to put him first. I was an award in San Antonio many years ago, and a fatherhood award, and I asked my son Eric, who was about thing we've ever done together. I want to tell a story when I'm getting this award. He's been sideline, holding my court in the Super Bowl, and meeting all these players and everything. He said, "Well, remember when we moved and all the baseball equipment was packed away, and we just made a ball out of tape and a broom, and I beat you in tape baseball 22-3. That's the most fun we've ever had." I
remember the score.
Yeah, and that says it all. They just want you to be there for them, to be available, and be there, and be their dad. If you can do that in the midst of all the hustle bustle we have, they're going to be excited.
Check out allprodad.com. You find out more about that. Coach Dungy, always love catching up with you, buddy.
Oh, thank you, guys. And I can't wait to watch these Eagles. I think they're going to put on a show in the playoffs, and looking forward to seeing it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There
Great
he is.
talking to him.
Tony Dungy on the Comcast Bizarre Line.
And he agreed with you, Phil.
Thank you so much for checking out our content on the 97.5 The Fanatic YouTube channel.
Hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, you can always be checking the playlist. There may be something you missed from one of our shows during the day that you want to go back and check out. So every time you like a video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and you'll have that great content coming to you every single day. You're greatly appreciated.